Hello friends, welcome back to the show. So glad to see you all once again. And if you're new here, thank you for stopping by. This is the place that I think you might be looking for. If you're like me and grew up on cartoons from the 80s and 90s and want to talk about them today, an excuse to watch them now, well, here we're doing just that. And today we're talking about the Superman episode Unity, which originally aired on May 15th, 1999.
Unity? What's that? New band?
Truth be told, I don't remember seeing this episode when I was younger, but watching it now is very disturbing, very creepy, very disgusting, and almost challenging to watch, to see this creature coming out of people's mouths. I don't know how this was greenlit or able to be made, but we'll talk all about that right after our 60-second Brainiac Bomb rundown, complete synopsis of the episode so you know what we're talking about. In 60 seconds, or this bomb's going to blow up. Kara / Supergirl is taking a big trip to the big city of Metropolis for spring break. And while she's there, she does a bunch of fun stuff. And when she comes back, she finds out that Martha and Jonathan Kent have been brainwashed by this Unity thing. And they go into this big tent like the circus, and it's taking control of everybody. And Supergirl and Superman fight and pull out Martha and take her to the hospital, and they're studying it and trying to figure out, and this seems to be some alien creature that's wrapped around her spine and is controlling her and making everybody like these zombies. So they go back to the circus because the thing has escaped and also taken over the doctors. They go back to the circus, they fight, they battle it, they stop it, and they take Jonathan and Martha Kent home, and peace at last. I feel like I'm missing a big chunk, but that's basically the episode.
Brain imploding, shutting down.
This episode is a really strange plot, really strange story, strange character or adversary, I guess if you could call it that. And I want to say that it was but at the very least it was fun to watch. It wasn't really fun to watch, just in terms of it just being really disgusting that this very alien type of thing going down their throat and trying to... But I do have to say, on a positive note, it starts out with Kara waking up and celebrating and being excited about spring break and all these things that she's going to do and go to Metropolis, which that in itself, I remember very distinctly that feeling of waking up the first day after school ended for spring break or summer break or Christmas break, any of those breaks. And I know exactly that feeling of, freedom for the next couple of days or weeks. However, what I think is strange about this is I get that they needed to get Kara out of Smallville so that Unity could kind of take over the town and Martha and Jonathan Kent. But it seems like a lot of filler. Again, that they take her to Metropolis and she's writing and doing all these fun stuff. And I thought the story was going to be about that, be about Kara being in Metropolis with Superman and that old story where he's trying to keep her from being Supergirl and that. But that's really just a recap of, oh, look, I had fun. Okay, it's over. Now I'm going back to Smallville. I get the theme that they were dealing with where they were going, she doesn't really like the humdrum, normal farmer's life, and then comes full circle that she does like that. But it was just a little bizarre. Again, I wish that they would have done something different to take her out of the town, or had this just pick up at the end of her trip to Metropolis, that she's there and just starts with, oh, well, I guess I got to go back home. But of course they did need to introduce the preacher character getting off the bus. But I don't know. It just felt, I don't know, maybe I'm wrong, but it just felt weird that they kind of spent this whole first scene of going, oh, I'm in Metropolis. Well, never mind. I'm back. I'm done.
Going back to Smallville is sad enough. But do I have to take the bus again?
But they do use the opportunity of her on the bus to put a little dig on Marvel and Spider-Man with the spider powers, or Spider-Man, spider, whatever that was.
Spider powers? Ew!
You know, then we have this big scene in the tent, and very creepy and very difficult to watch. And Martha gets captured, and then they get Martha back and take her to the hospital. And they immediately just start calling this thing an alien. But there's really not a lot of clear information about how this alien got there, this parasitic sort of alien, where it came from, why it's there, what happens to it from here, and what it's trying to do. It's just here. And again, they kind of lean on that opportunity of, well, we took Kara out, we followed her to Metropolis, and so we don't know what was going on back in Smallville. So how did this start? What was the preacher guy that gets off of the bus there in Smallville? What's his role in this? Is he Unity, or is Unity possessed him as well? Like, again, just sort of glazing over a lot of information and we just spent our time going, oh, here's Kara and Supergirl in Metropolis and fighting Volcana, which, again, we don't know how Volcana got off that island that she had a sweet gig at from last time we saw her in Where There's Smoke. So they just kind of throw in a lot of stuff, but not the right information. That again, looking at this as an adult versus watching it as a kid is quite a bit different. That I feel like we're missing a lot of information. We're just quickly glazing over this information, the story points, just to go, let's show them fighting this big, disgusting monster or alien, whatever it is.
Give up the fight, child. Forces mightier than you couldn't stop us.
And again, I don't mean to be overly critical, but that's why I'm doing the show. But we have this scene where Kara is waiting for Superman to go stop this thing. And I was like, it just felt very out of her character that she's literally just sitting in a room waiting for something to happen. And I'm like, she would either be with Martha or have followed Superman or go try to stop this thing herself. It just felt very out of her character to just be waiting there. And again, I get why they did that, because they needed her out of the room to see the Unity take over the doctors, but could have been a better round about that.
No, she's not.
There's no greater healer than Unity.
Okay, now this is a really nitpicky thing, but since when has the heat vision been white? And why didn't Kara use it when she was captured and shooting the tentacle things? She had to wait for Superman to do that, and then goes, oh yeah, I guess I could do that too. Which also is almost the most unexciting version of the fight, to just stare at this thing and burn it up. And
behold the true power of Unity.
And again, this whole story like loops back around that we introduce this, I don't even know if it's a thing. It's this villain, this adversary, and then they study it and they try to figure this out. And obviously it's taken over people and all this. And then it just leads them back to the tent to go, well, let's kill the source. Let's destroy the source to save all these people. They could have done that from the beginning. This episode is just bizarre to me in the sense of, why are we telling the story? What was the point of this story? And it felt like it could have been fleshed out a little bit more, or that it needed some other element to it that it was missing. And when I run across episodes like this, especially in the latter part of the series, that I'm always kind of thinking, what was going on in the writer's room? Was this a deadline thing where they were just like, we need another episode, let's pull this story out and let's just write it? Or I've been talking about it for a while now, but it feels like maybe they were winding down. They knew where they were winding down with Superman, and their focus was getting pulled more towards Justice League to go, that's the place that where we need to put our attention to get that done and get that off the ground. And so some of these episodes like this one just sort of fell by the wayside. But I do appreciate the little rutabaga turnip callback there at the end.
Say, Martha, did you see what the Langs are growing? Looks like rutabaga.
I don't know, Jonathan. Looks like turnips to me.
So when it comes time to rank this episode, as you can probably guess, it's not one of my favorites. And I think from the get-go, it was just it's a personal preference of this episode that I was creeped out by the type of alien there was. Obviously, I've been more forgiving of Superman just punching things and battling things. That's what Superman does. So I'm not expecting a great mystery at this point. But I'm not really into things that are the slimy tentacle things coming out of people's throats and all that. It's very disgusting to me. And so I get it. For me personally, that was just a difficult sort of scenes to watch. But I felt like there was just some missing components in the story, or things were acting out of character in this that also attributed to just not ranking as high as so many of the other episodes that I think are better. So for all those reasons, this episode falls at the number 36 spot of my favorite episodes so far, or least favorite episodes so far, I guess you could say. It falls just below Prototype because I thought that episode, I mean, there was some great purpose to why they were telling that to introduce Steel and those sorts of things, but it was a different type of story, and at the very least, it played on some of these other elements of, is this guy good or bad, or is it the tool that's making him act erratically, and there was just more to it, to more psychological battling for Superman to do, versus this one just being, oh, it's just a evil thing that is taking possession over people's bodies and making them into zombies that just gotta shut it down. But I do have this one beating out The Last Son of Krypton. I know that episode has fallen further and further down the list because it was a origin story, probably necessary. I've said it over and over again, but the first two episodes were good, and I wish they just wouldn't have included the third episode. And so this one, I guess, was a little bit more of an exciting episode than that one. And perhaps just because Last Son of Krypton is the story we all know, we've heard time and time again. So it was just like a necessary story to tell, but I could have done without it. So let me know, do any of you know anything more about Unity? Is this something that's in the comic books that I missed? Is there a better explanation that is not clearly defined in this episode, or did I miss something in this episode about what Unity is, what its motives are, why it's there, what it's actually doing to people, mixed between being possessed and being a zombie, and what it's just, is it feeding on them? I don't know. There's just a lot of questions that I had. Let me know in the comment section below if you know anything more about Unity than what very little that I gathered from this episode about it. If you enjoyed this episode, please click the like button. If you want to see more episodes like this, just hit subscribe. I have new episodes coming out every Tuesday and Thursday, and if you can't wait that long, there's plenty of other episodes over on the side here that you can click on and watch, and go back and watch some of my older episodes or playlists that you may have missed. As always, thank you so much for watching. I'm Andy Knode. I'll see you soon.